Okay, we're good. Go ahead. Sorry.
There again,
Okay, welcome everyone. Call this meeting to order. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that the land upon which our organization stands is unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Mi'kmaqui is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship. We pay our respects to the indigenous Mi'kmaq people who have occupied this land for over 12,000 years, past, present, and future. Do any members of council have a conflict of interest with any items on today's agenda? Approval of the agenda. Any other suggested agenda items for today's meeting? Yes.
I have, it's called the Imagination Station Childcare. And then I have a brief.
Spell that?
Imagination. What do you want? I can. And then I have a brief summary from a meeting with the Coalition for Women in Government.
I have one too.
Okay,
Fire department update.
Trish. Fire.
What is it?
Fire department update? Okay.
Are we?
Anything else?
Are you? Trish? Are you talking about the hearing? Are we talking?
That's on the.
It's on the agenda.
Oh, it is.
Okay, may I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda as presented and amended?
I'll move.
Moved by Lynn. Seconder, anybody? Billy? All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carries. RCMP report of the month has been distributed. Ashley Pesichuk.
So we are up a few calls, but not by much. Typically, we are holding our average of around 24, 25 calls per month for our municipality. You can find these reports on our website. They are all there to review. So if you're curious about what's going on in terms of incidents within this municipality, feel free to check our website, therealmunicipalityofbelfast.com. That's all I have for today.
Fish blood.
Thank you.
Okay, public presentations. Do we have any? Members of the public are offered 5 minutes to make a presentation to council. An extension is only granted if unanimous consent of council is given. Following presentation, council may or may not ask questions. All presenters are reminded to be respectful with their comments and do not use derogatory or improper language to council and or other members of the public, as per Code of Conduct Bylaw 2019-02, Section 8, Subsection 7, and Municipal Government Act, Section 118, Subsection 2, which would result in the expulsion from the meeting via this hammer.
No presenter?
Everybody scared? Oh, we have one.
I got something to say.
You can state your name for the record.
My name is Joe Donahoe. I live at 4953 Murray Harbor Road, Uig, Fern River Fire Department. I was probably one of these 40 people that attended your not last week, in the meeting of the subcommittee, and I heard some input. And I grew up in the Three Rivers area. I followed the Three Rivers Council for years, and then when I really started getting interested in it was when the Three Rivers Council decided to double tax seasonal residents. They used the fire protection tax to double tax seasonal residents, because we all know most seasonal residents live in rural areas near the outskirts and stuff like that. They don't live in downtown Montague or downtown Georgetown. So the provincial government, I don't care if it's liberal or Tory, they got the right idea. They put the fire protection tax in with the property tax. Now, I would like someone here to get a paper copy of the MOS so you can all read it, what was signed to form Three Rivers. What the province wants to do is for you guys to do the same thing. And what came out of it wasn't a good, in my mind, there's lots of, don't get me wrong, there's lots of commercial activity going on as far as construction and all that kind of stuff. But where is the money going to come from to give these people jobs that are going to live in these, all these apartment buildings? I don't know. There's no industry here, like nothing's really changed. We are fishing. It appears like our ferry is going to get shut down here at Wood Islands. Like, the writing's on the wall, I think. But anyway, I would like you people to get a paper copy of the latest MGA Act. How many do have a paper copy of the MGA Act, the latest one?
They all do.
A paper copy?
They all do.
What's the date on the bottom of it?
I don't have mine.
Can't remember. It was just the latest version of it that was passed in 2018.
I got one out in my car, it was 22.
Yes.
There's been 3 passed since then, but every one is different,
Yeah, that's because they will do an adjustment
correct?
on each year.
Yes,
So they,
28.
council gets the latest MGA version when they come on to council, and they were elected in 22?
November 2020.
Yeah,
what was 22?
November 22. That's when they were elected.
If you look up the MGA Act online, I think you'll find it's current until December of 2023. That's the latest edition of it. That's the one you need to be working with. You also need to have a paper copy of the Interpretation Act. If you look at it, they Mickey Mouse that thing because they have the Queen dead 7 months before she died to make it fit. They took the crown. There's no crown bound. When the town of Three Rivers was formed, it was Executive Order 2018-586. 2018-586. At that point in time, that was a crown-bound act. That meant everyone under the crown was supposed to honor it. In that act, it said fire protection tax was supposed to be outside of property tax. But the government put it in there. So once they give the town of Three Rivers a bunch of startup money, once that stuff started weaning out and they had to start taxing the people, what did they do? They double the fire protection tax. You can read it all in there. It's, so Monica was 8 cents. If you lived in the Monica Fire District, it ended up 16 cents. Cardigan was 10 cents. If you lived in the Cardigan Fire District, in the rural areas, it was 20 cents. Georgetown, same thing, 20 cents. That's what they used to double tax seasonal residents. Now, if you look at the MGA Act, they talk about municipality. It's the same legal status as a corporation. It says a corporation has the same legal status as a person. Why can that person that's a seasonal person that comes and puts money into the province, why can they not be treated the same as you and I? This is where I'm coming from. And I mean, if you disagree with me, fine. That's all I got to say. I thank you, because anytime you want to talk, I studied this stuff for quite a while, and I think my old buddy sitting behind me has heard me talk before about it, because I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. In my mind, I think it's wrong when you start double taxing something. Me as a person, I'd never double charge you if you wanted to ride to Charlottetown. I'll charge you $20 and I charge you only $10. That's the way I see things. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oops, thanks.
I think it's a very common practice in lots of municipalities across Canada, isn't it? I believe it's
Why not? Say that
I
again.
believe it's a fairly common practice by provincial governments right across Canada
To what?
where there's different rates of taxation depending upon residency.
No, not across Canada. Prince Edward Island's the only one I can find, but Nova Scotia, they did away with it. Tim Houston did away with it in 2022.
That MGA, it seems to me to be a document that's very much in flux.
Well, it's written such a way, you get a vague interpretation, and the same thing with a municipal government. The municipal government, if you want to look up BP, write that down, BP 276E, it's a federal paper, and it says in there, the province will jealously protect its control over the municipalities. That's what it says, jealously. So the province told, oh no, I shouldn't say that. It may appear that the province told Three Rivers how to go about this tax system, but
No,
it may and it may not.
I think I might be right on this, but I believe that they can change the regulations, are very simple to change, but the act itself requires an act of parliament, I think. An act of the legislature.
I think it could be right,
But the regulations can be changed without changing the act that fathered them, I guess you'd call it.
yeah, but all right, this is where you as a municipality, do you agree with this double, see, this started off as they charged the seasonal residents an extra 50 cents, the provincial government. Now they want the municipality to double tax the seasonal residents.
I guess we're gonna have to look into that, because I'm not familiar with it. Frank,
We'll take it.
No? Any other questions?
thank you.
Okay. And what's your name?
Jim Kinney.
Oh, Ryan Stowe Dunn, okay, talk to you sometime.
Good.
Okay,
Thank you, Joe.
okay.
Robert, you got public presentation?
Nothing today.
Josh?
All in, I'm done? Okay, thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Adoption of the August 21st, 2024 council meeting minutes. Previously attached and distributed, all changes incorporated. May I have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of the August 21st, 2024 council meeting as presented? Tricia moves, seconder, anybody? Going once? Hey, Lynn. Got a seconder, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays? So. Okay, business arising from the August 21st, 2024 council meeting minutes are addressed in today's agenda. Okay, CAO report, acting CAO.
Nope, that's a miss.
That's a misprint.
Yes, I'm
Our
not.
acting
That's not me
CAO, Bob
today.
Brooks.
Maybe I was planning to be away.
No.
Okay. As you can see by the financial information, we're actually on track for the fourth month. Everything's on track as far as the expenditures. I'm happy to say that the vast majority of all the community grants are now paid out, or they'll be paid out by the end of September, I believe, or into mid-October, and then they'll all be paid out. So all the community groups will be happy that they were able to get their money. Our cash flow is just able to handle that. So other than that, everything's on track, and nothing to add about the financials unless anybody has questions.
Quick question. Under the insurance line item, it looks like we've spent a majority of what we budgeted, so that means, to me, are we paying our insurance in one installment? That's been
Correct.
paid? Perfect, thanks.
That line item is insurance, legal, and WCB, so you'll see slight changes
Yeah.
throughout the year, but yes, to answer your question. Okay.
Thank you, Bob. Official community plan and development bylaw. CAO, Bob Brooks.
Doesn't say acting.
You want to throw that in there?
Not gonna go there.
So a public consultation meeting is set for Saturday, September 21st from 1 to 3 in the Wood Island, well, right here. This meeting is to hear further comments and opinions from the public, council, and an RMB contracted rural development officer. The FOTEN draft official and draft development bylaw documents have been up on the RMB website now for some time for public viewing and for council viewing. Everybody's had quite a while now to take a look at those documents. They had seen some substantial changes from the original that was brought to us in 2021, and then 2022 saw quite a few changes, many of them that were asked for by the public and council members at the time. So with the results of that consultation, it is planned the council will then discuss at a separate council meeting what they heard. Based on what is heard, the council will prepare a report, or I will prepare a report and provide options for discussion and consideration for moving forward and or other. The options could be to adopt for information, adopt it with amendments, defer it. Anyway, I'll bring forward a motion for the October 6th, or a recommendation for the October 16th meeting, and then council can decide how or if they want to move forward with those documents. Jim?
I have got a question about this. I noticed that we have 10 bylaws to date. And so it occurred to me, we should be able to pass a bylaw without an official plan that relates to development issues. Now, I don't think I'm wrong on that, but all we have to do is be concerned that we are able to enforce, whether we have the resources to enforce that bylaw. Is that correct?
No. So what happened is...
Is the answer no, we're not allowed to pass bylaws?
I was just going to tell you what the full answer is. So we had a meeting with Lands and Municipal Affairs because we had asked the same question. We wanted to just provide for example, let's say we took this document, this official plan, and provided it to Municipal Affairs and Lands to say, this is what the municipality, how they want to develop, but we don't want to go through the MGA version of it. We just want to have a concept plan for our municipality, and then when the PEI government has an idea that they want to put something somewhere, they can look at our plan and say, okay, well, the community said no, they don't want that kind of thing, or they do, or whatever, before they go ahead and do anything. The other thing is that we asked the provincial government to at least consult the municipality if they were going to bring forward a development proposal. And they said, well, without an official plan and development bylaw, basically, we don't have the resources, I'm paraphrasing now, we don't have the resources to consult with municipalities across PEI on everything. If you have your own, then you have a process that's laid out in the official plan and development bylaw. And you are correct about if we go ahead and do this plan, then the enforcement of any development proposal is borne by the municipality. So it's true that we can do bylaws as per the MGA. However, when it comes to planning, it's still the responsibility, until we have our own official plan and development bylaw, it's still the responsibility of the province. So we can't do a bylaw specific to land use planning without going through the official plan and development bylaw process. However, I did want to give you options when you actually decide how you want to move forward, or if you want to move forward next month when we have our council meeting. I did want to provide you with all the options that are available to us. Oh, there's also going to be a costing as well. that goes with that.
Okay, I'll just look at that a little bit more in detail.
So-
I don't fully understand what you said.
It seems like the real teeth in the planning and development process is really boils down to the zoning. Do we have any ability to influence or change how things are zoned in our municipality without going through the process of doing a whole plan and bylaws?
No. It was made clear to us that, like right now, the zoning that's there now, actually, what I'll do is, I'll let you ask John that question when, John Ployer is a rural development officer from Eastern Kings, and that question, it sounds to me like it might be a good one for John. However, and that's on item 18. However, to my knowledge, anything to do with lands or changing the zoning or whatever, it would have to be something that we would have to request from the province, but the province made it clear to us when we met with them that the only way that they're looking at anything that we want to do for official plan or development bylaw, we have to have it in place. And so if we had one, then we could do that within our own official plan. But to my knowledge, without us having an official plan and development bylaw, I do not believe we have that option.
And that meeting was before they changed the rules that we don't necessarily need to have.
That is correct, and also.
February, isn't it?
Yeah, and also, they said that there was a few other things that they were working on right now, amendments to the Lands Act, a new land plan, funding for municipalities that had an official plan. So all that stuff, I'll be able to report on next month when we talk about it,
Okay.
because I should be able to finalize all that information by that time.
Okay.
But I would also ask John that question when you get to 18.
Sure.
You may have an answer for you.
This,
Question, I know previous council, I don't know when this happened, because I became involved with the previous CIC a number of years ago. But we were always informed on a monthly basis of what building permits were being done or being asked for in our community. And the council had a chance to comment, yes, no, changes, whatever. When did that process change and why?
6, 7 years ago,
Yeah,
Okay.
2018 it stopped when they introduced the MGA.
a little bit prior.
I'm
to
sorry,
that.
I'm not very good with acronyms, what's MGA?
Oh, the Municipal Government Act
Okay.
is the legislation that defines how a municipality operates.
Okay.
So CIC,
Yeah. It's changed in the
when
world.
we became officially incorporated into a municipality, we're now under the Municipal Government Act.
And so I read the news correctly lately, I've come to understand that they no longer require us, as of last fall, to do some sort of
Correct.
okay?
That's correct.
I guess my question is, it was a very simple process before, it cost us, as taxpayers, community, no extra money. Is there any way we can get that system back again, where if there's building permits being requested to be done in Belfast, can we not ask, well, can you send them to the council for a comment? And then we can say yay, nay, or you can say yay, nay, or adjust this, please.
We've tried.
And
Well,
they
like I said,
said,
that's ongoing. So we did request that a few times as a province, and because they had this MGA requirement of an official plan and development bylaw, they basically stopped doing that process. However, as you said, they later then said it's no longer required, and they want to do new land management plan. So we're going to be trying to do that exact same thing. It was something that we raised with them earlier, that we wanted to just be informed about what was going on and let them know what our opinion is. But they stopped doing that once the MGA requirement came in. But now that it's gone, it's something that we can work toward again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'd like
Just
to
a
make.
minute, Jim.
Go ahead,
Robert's
sorry.
not finished.
No,
Go ahead.
I lost my train of thought. But I guess if they're no longer required, then why not put a lot more effort in getting that back versus doing all the work you're doing now, spending money
Yeah.
that's coming out of our taxes? Why not spend more effort on that? Because I believe you've got MLAs in the area that are very committed to working to make things better. And that one would, if it means saving money, saving consternation among councillors and communities, residents, I think that makes a lot of sense.
So that is one of the options that we'll be bringing forward in October. However, we didn't want to put the cart before the horse. We have a public meeting where on Saturday, where people are going to say what they like about the changes or don't like about the changes. So we'll have that information for ourselves, and or council will then have an opportunity in October to say if we want to go with what you just suggested, if we want to go with the plan, if we want to, all the options that are available. So we'll be having that discussion in October.
I'm glad you brought that up, Robert, because I brought it up in the past. Got a similar kind of non-answer from it as well. So I'm going to make a motion that we make a formal request to government that we now be informed anytime that there's an application for development or for a building permit in the boundaries of this municipality.
Can I
That's
suggest
the way,
that?
and for goodness sake, with all of the technology we have today, how hard is it to send us a picture or a fax or a something? It's
Can-
not a difficult process.
Can I suggest that you save that motion for October when we'll have all the options in front of us?
I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be in Las Vegas in October, so.
Because it'd be a little premature if you did it now, because I haven't prepared all the information for you yet.
Anyway, I think that a formal request from council is a lot more than a casual conversation between municipality staff and staff in
And that would be a,
municipal affairs.
that would be a logical option as well.
So I hope that somebody will make that motion the next, Charlie, would you make that motion
Yeah.
the next meeting?
Yeah, but do you think that if the council's ultimate decision is to continue with the bylaw and official plan, that would still be something that we should do?
Irregardless,
Yeah.
this is something that's way in the future for,
Yeah.
if there's ever an official plan, which I doubt there
Yeah.
will be, ever comes to fruition. We should just make that motion.
Yeah, I'll put it down.
I'm kind of feeling like, yeah, it doesn't matter what the outcome is next month. Like,
Yeah.
We want this.
I think
Anyway.
it won't. Like, what harm, sorry.
No,
Okay,
no,
yeah.
no.
What harm would it do to make the motion now, regardless of what happens in October?
The thing is, like Bob said earlier, we don't have all the information. We'll have a lot more information in October. So we can make that decision more fully knowledgeable.
One of the reasons I'm hesitating is that that might be something that's going to come out of the changes that they want to make for lands. I don't know yet. I'm still confirming this information with lands and municipal affairs. And so I don't have the answers for you at the moment.
Well, let's just tell them this is something that we want.
You
We'd like to be
can certainly
informed.
make the motion now if you want to.
I'm going to make that motion and that we revert to the previous system where they inform us if there is an application made for development or for building permit in the boundaries of the Belfast municipality.
I think like,
Of her.
if someone comes out of the October meeting that's contradicting that, we can always just revisit that and rescind it,
Revisit it.
rescind it.
Okay, we
See,
need
You
a-
had your hand up.
Yeah, Lynn's next year.
Yeah, I just have to kind of go back to what I was, my thought process. Back to what Robert said, can you repeat what you said, just for clarity? You mentioned like the previous way it was with development permits and the rules. And then you mentioned have an MLA that's ready, willing, and able, and we should be focusing on maybe doing this instead of spending money on a lot of other things. Are you able to elaborate on, like, what other things, like, from the pyramid scheme, like, what are we spending money on that should come first? Like, I'm just trying to understand what you meant by that. Just if you can clarify it for me.
I'll be that rural, that's quite a mouthful. Don't understand pyramids very much. But
Well, I'm just
here we go.
saying, like,
Like, what should you do first?
well, what money are we spending? You're saying all the money we're
You
spending.
spent money on a consultant to develop this, start to develop.
Okay, okay, that's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah,
Like, what things
like
are we
I-
spending money on that you think that should be on the top?
I feel that a better way of doing this was the way it was before. I mean,
Okay.
simply put, the government of the day, I don't care who it is,
Okay.
the process was the Belfast CIC, which is now the Rural Municipality of Belfast, RMB, they were supplied on a monthly basis building permits, and they went over them, and they said, yay, nay, we'd like some more information, whatever. And it cost the taxpayers of this community no extra money. We didn't have to hire a bylaw officer, we didn't have to hire an enforcement officer, or whatever you're talking about in this whole thing. The money that was spent, I think, I'm not going to say it's a waste, but I think it was unnecessary. I think if we would have looked at the process that was in place before, much simpler.
Okay, so that's what you meant.
That's what I meant. And again, if you're talking about MLAs, there's no secrets here. Darlene Compton is a good friend of mine.
Yep.
Went to school together. But she is ready, willing, and able to help push that notion forward to government. I'm quite sure.
Okay.
If you only asked her, this is what we'd like to have happen. And in terms of Jim's motion, I think there's no harm doing it now. It's the same thing as being proactive in terms of what the exercise we just went through or gone through or has gone past. You're being proactive. Get it out there, let it be known, this is what our community would like to have happen. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's, you answered the question. I just meant like A, B, and C, what did you mean, what money you spent? Okay. Just,
Yeah.
okay.
Like,
Thank
the
you.
money that was spent was, I mean, you spent it,
Yeah.
it's gone, don't care. But I think to avoid further costs, I think quite simply put a motion forward, ask government to return to the previous way of operating, and away you go. You don't have to spend a lot of time discussing all this other stuff.
Thanks, Robert.
So just to clarify, Robert, what you were talking about with CIC, that absolutely correct. And then MGA came out, and now there was a requirement for municipalities to do it, as Jim talked about, and yourself. That is no longer a requirement, so we're completing our process basically in October. But we could certainly do a motion to do exactly what you said the CIC was doing in the past. And it won't hurt to put it forward. I just need a seconder, and I need a clarification of the actual motion from Jim.
Sorry, Catherine.
Yeah, I just want to take a clarification too. Like the money that was spent, that was the previous council. So like this council didn't have any say, we just kind of inherited it.
It was also paid for by gas tax.
Yeah, yeah,
And it
so I
was-
guess this council's responsibility would be any
It
expenses.
was a requirement of MGA at the time, 3-4 years ago, to have this plan developed, this development plan. Hence the Ontario company was hired.
So it was something we did that was
It was a
requested of
requirement.
us. It's not
It
like
was
we're
a
sitting
requirement at
there,
that time.
spending the money because we can. It's
Since
something
then, the
that we
province
had
has
to do.
reneged on some of these requirements, and now here we are.
I'm not much interested in putting blame on things that happened in the past. As I said, the money is spent, it's gone.
Yeah.
I'm looking at going forward.
Yes.
How does this community council save money? Drop this whole motion, get them to revert to what they had before, and the community will still have a say in what happens.
We do have to finish the process though, because of the route of funding that we got to pay for it. The process has to be finished in order, otherwise it would be on us as a council to pay for it.
Give all the
Well,
money back.
if it does, then finish the process and get it over with. But don't donate any more funds to it, because I think it's a waste of money.
I think that's like the plan, and then
That's
once we
what
come
October's
October, then we can be like, tie it up, here's the vote, and,
Get rid of it.
yeah.
We see what you're saying, Robert. Like,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we hear ya, we have to go through these, I guess,
Yeah.
final hoops
Yeah.
to be able to finish our obligation and not have to face, the charge, the penalties of not completing it. So, I think all of us are looking forward to next month, so we can actually like, hopefully close that chapter but yeah, we hear ya.
It's simply a proposal, but everybody here, we don't have to adopt it. We don't have to adopt it, we just everybody finish the process here, we say.
There's a half motion on the floor. Jim,
Every time I give it, it's gonna be a little bit different.
yeah, give me your best shot.
Well, that that when a application for development or a building permit is made or construction of something within the boundaries of Belfast municipality, that we would like to have that forwarded to us for council's information.
Okay.
And maybe just to tease that out a little bit, because I think that I understood from the conversations about how it was historically completed. Did the CIC have the ability to say no?
We commented,
So it was, we didn't have a vote, but we could have a comment.
we could comment on
Yeah,
it.
okay, so we want to go back to that, not just for our information, but an ability to
So-
comment as well. Yeah.
And when I send out the minutes, I'll basically draft up what I believe the motion intent was, and then if that's not correct, you can correct me. I do need a seconder though.
I second.
Trish?
Want our message, Charlie?
Lining up for seconds
I
now.
don't think I would win.
I thought more.
Need a vote? Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays?
Motion carried.
Okay, next is our annexation exercise.
Okay, because we have people on Facebook, I'm going to actually read this information that is listed in the agenda. The Annexation Subcommittee, ASC, has now been disbanded by council. Members of council and members of the public have been inquiring as to where we are now and what are the options for council moving forward. Established facts are as follows. A, council did decide to dissolve the ASC on August 21st, 2024. They felt the issue deserved the full council attention for all stages of an annexation exercise. B, while the ASC had many public committee meetings over the past year, all the preliminary work that has been done to date was to bring RMB to a place where they could then decide how best to start the public process for an annexation exercise. Before council can start an annexation exercise process, they will first need to determine the following. 1, if, when to start the annexation exercise public process. 2, what the scope of the annexation exercise should be if, when council gives the go-ahead, i.e. out of the 17 possible communities that the ASC committee suggested we look into, which ones should we look into first? The thought is, if we look at 7 communities approximately, there should be some lessons learned about how to proceed in the future if council decided to proceed, and no, council has not discussed which communities they may or may not wish to look into first, or at all. 3, RMB has yet to find funding for an annexation exercise. They must figure out the scope first. 4, council has yet to find a contractor for an annexation exercise. They must figure out the scope and the funding first. Should council decide to start an annexation exercise, it will be a public process as all regular council business is done in public. 6, Should council decide to proceed, the process is to consult and notify all households in the identified communities and the fire districts, both individually and publicly throughout the process. C, current options for council consideration. 1, in consideration of the items I listed in 10B above, council could decide if and when they would like to start an annexation exercise process for RMB. Or 2, in consideration of those items above, council could decide to delay an annexation exercise process for RMB. Or, in consideration of those items above, council could decide to stop any annexation exercise process for RMB until such time as this council or any other subsequent council decides to bring the issue forward in the future. So now it's up for discussion if this council wants to look at those options now or later.
So I guess I'm just going to split hairs here between option 2 and 3. So we could delay it, is one of those options. Is there a timeline on it? Because I can see filing this away and delaying it for other councils down the road to look at it, the information's there, which to me is very similar to saying, we're gonna stop it and leave it for council. So can you kind of tease that out for me a little bit so I
Sure.
can understand more?
With a delay, you would expect that you're going to reinvigorate the process in a year or 2, or max 3. And the reason I say that is because at some point the information becomes dated. And if you were, for example, going to delay it for 5 years, 6 years, well, you basically need to start over again. Because all of the information that the ASC committee found is now no longer relevant, and you basically have to start over. So the difference between 2 and 3, delay or to stop, is if you believe you may want to start this process again in 1 or 2 years, or in the life of this council. If you want to start it again in the life of this council, I would say delay. If you wanted to wait for another council, then I would say stop and basically start over again.
Okay.
So that's your 3 options. Either say when you want to start the process. For example, in option 1, you may say, okay, we're just a little busy with the official plan and whatnot, so let's start in again in 2025. So that would be your option 1. But if you want to delay it till 2026, you may say option 2 would be a good. But if you want to stop it until the next council or subsequent councils, then option 3.
So after hearing that, they're no longer pushing on this, and I appreciate the work that the annexation committee has done and the amount of hours that you guys have put into it. But knowing that this is not a requirement now that's coming down the pipe, my feeling, we're basically halfway into our term, and it doesn't look like this is something that's going to push through in our term. And so my feeling is I wouldn't want to make a decision for the next council. My thought process is that we stop it for now and let the next council pick it up, as it's not an urgent requirement. But I know there's lots of discussion further on here, so
If they decide.
if they decide to pick it up.
I agree with you 100%.
I agree as well. I think that the initial reason for forming the committee and looking into this was that we felt the pressure that the province was potentially going to force it on us. I feel like that pressure's been relieved for now, that we could probably put it off until such time that it becomes relevant to us again.
Does Catherine have anything further updates from
No.
FBM?
No, FPIM hasn't met yet. We were slated to meet with the minister this month, but it got canceled. I mean, I guess my personal feelings are, we know it's not happening during this provincial election, so that puts us to 2026. When's our term done? 2026 as well. I mean, to me, personally, it kind of feels like you know, taking the train station, right? It's like, do we do it now? Do we not do it now? You know, it was highly inflammatory. It wasn't fun. For that reason alone, I should be saying absolutely not. But that being said, I do know the reason why we did do it. And I do feel in my heart that this is going to be coming. We're the last province to have it. So, yeah, if it's council's feelings that they don't want to handle that, then so be it. If we want to, so be it.
And I think whether or not it is some of it or all of it is relevant, I'm sure that within those notes, there's going to be stuff that's going to be very helpful when it does come down. So I think, you know, the work that you guys have done on this already is wonderful for the next group or whoever takes it on.
It'll be archived.
Yeah,
exactly.
it's not
That's
going
what I'm
away.
gonna say. It's not going away,
No.
but I think you have provided when this does come back. You know, think of way at the beginning, like it was just like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? And now there's actual paperwork
At least
for
something.
another group to pick up.
I guess the other part, because I mean, before everything happened, our committee was at the discussion of money, right? We were starting to get quotes in. They were high, you know, and we didn't even have an opportunity as a committee to really discuss those. But that is a consideration. You know, we discussed possibly using the, I don't know what it is, the gas tax.
Infrastructure secretary.
Yeah, but I mean, if we take it for this purpose of something that may or may not come to fruition, or may or may not be required, we're taking it from something else that could really use that money.
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's like the train station
Yeah.
situation with the way I was thinking of it, is it's, you know, kind of a,
Well, I think
it could go either way.
you've definitely set up the next group that has to pick that up.
A foundation.
You've definitely laid
Yeah,
that.
the
and
steps
you've
are
done
all
a really
there.
great job.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's the time. Mine personally is I don't think it's the time for us now to do this.
Yeah.
There's an old truism that says that there's nothing so powerful as an idea whose time has come. And the time has not come for this.
Well said, Jim. I agree with you on that. So,
We need a
I
motion.
move to,
Trish is gonna make a motion.
yeah, I move to take option.
Or is there anybody else got anything you want to add?
Well, all I think is
Sorry,
that
just-
as it looks right now, the province doesn't want to upset people. They probably noticed that this has upset people a fair bit. And with the chance of an election in the near future, they're probably going to look at it and be like, no, we're not touching that until after an election. So I'd say, yeah, for now, it can sit.
Okay.
Every sentiment has been said.
And I think that being said too, like you said, we have the foundation, like we have the steps that we need to take should something hit the fan and we need to start it up again. We at least know
What
what that
direction.
looks like now.
Yeah.
And,
Joe.
have lessons learned.
I was just wanting to know if the committee did a certain amount of work. I was just wondering if that can be documented. Some
It's all
stuff, you know what I
documented.
mean, like,
It's
so
already
today's
documented.
the date, it's already done?
Oh, yes.
So that's already, like, that
Yeah.
would be
Archived.
something.
We have stacks of paperwork this high.
Encyclopedia.
Yeah, literally.
I'm famous for paperwork.
Okay, Trish,
So I'd like to move that we take option 3 to stop the annexation exercise process with the caveat that I would like all the documentation archived for potentially a later date if it's needed.
Congratulations, Jim.
sustainable two-ferry system at Wood Island.
It's listed as all of council because I heard from everybody. And so I guess whoever wants to start.
Go ahead, Trish.
I'm counting to 3.
Let me make some comments first.
Oh, Jim wants to comment?
Go for it, Jim.
Okay.
Let her rip.
I actually wrote a few things down. And the deliberate defeat of Minister Lawrence Macaulay, whose campaign for as long as I can remember to save the ferry. And he has much of a job. I think it's like he found the goose that laid the golden egg every time an election calls around. He struts out to save the ferry. He's a minister of the crown of the federal minister. They have wielded a lot of power. And they should have been able to deal with this thing years ago. Instead, they've let it, to use an old expression, it's almost been forced to lead the death of 1,000 cuts. You don't go out and kill the thing, but you just let it bleed to death until eventually you can say, well, nobody's using it, so why should we be defending it? I found it kind of interesting something that, and it's to do with this constitutional guarantee. Premier King mentioned in a letter of August the 12th of 2023, and so I have to ask, is the constitutional guarantee still in place for the federal government to maintain the ferry service to the mainland? I understood that that was signed away. Now, I may be wrong with that, but he mentioned that he almost indicated it was still there. To quote him, he wrote a letter to the federal transportation minister, and he said that the federal government has constitutional obligations to PEI and its people to maintain continuous communication service between the province and the mainland. There's another little thing that you probably aren't even aware of. There's a thing called the Confederation Bridge Transportation Continuity Plan, and this plan is supposed to include contingencies for the ferry service to continue. Now, you just think about this. This is where, although it's a federal issue, this is where the province needs to get involved with this, is that because this plan is very important not only to Eastern Prince Edward Island, but to every single islander. Because this plan is supposed to be based on an alternative service to the bridge, if for some reason it's put out of service. Now, we hope to hell that that never happens. But just imagine what would happen if an accident were to occur, similar to the one in Baltimore, where an engine failure caused a freighter to take out several spans of the bridge. Now, this plan is supposed to assume that the bridge is going to be out of commission for 3 years. So right now, what have we got? We've got one half broken ferry that can't go out anytime that the wind blows. So all of our supermarkets on the island, for example, are on a system where they order all of their goods are ordered on a daily basis, and they're put together in a warehouse over on the mainland somewhere, and then they're transported over. And if you go around to the supermarkets at night, you'll find them unloading trucks and stocking shelves. Now, I read a report that said that in the event of some kind of a weather or a stoppage to this, that within 2 days that the shelves on the grocery stores start to diminish. And if people believe that it's going to be a long-term situation, can you just imagine the run there'd be? In COVID, they ran for toilet paper. If suddenly we had no way to transport our goods and services here to Prince Edward Island, the grocery stores would be stripped bare within no time at all. Now that plan is supposed to be in place, and I would love to have that plan made public so that we can see, and it's particularly is important to the residents of Prince Edward Island and to the residents of Eastern King, that we see that there is something in place that in the event of a catastrophe, we'll end up with something like a Berlin airlift. Because if we're cut off from the mainland, aside from fuel, which they can deliver by tanker, how are we going to get all of our food and all of our goods either shipped in or out? So I would like to know, is that plan actually in place? And is it available for public viewing, and would we like to see it?
So you basically spoke most of my notes that I had here, so awesome. So the contingency plan is if CPC had to request a Freedom of Information Act to get a copy of it back in, I think, 2015, I can't remember the date. In that plan, it said that if the bridge is out of commission for more than 24 hours by accident, extreme weather, or an act of terrorism, it calls for increased air service, possibly using aircraft as well as ferry service. So this is something that I am asking the council if we can request and from, if you can send a request for a Freedom of Information Act, so we can see what the contingency plan actually says, because this is an old one, I wanna see what the newest one is, and find out, are they actually fulfilling what they're saying in it? Like, is this because if we wait, like the Baltimore Bridge, if that didn't scare the pants off of everybody, that could happen here, and we have no way to get off the island, like, look at Somo, look how busy that bridge was, and people are complaining of it. If that's bridge, if it's gone, we have no, as we said, no groceries, nothing coming to the island, and, you know, fuel, all sorts of stuff is going to be affected. So I'm asking council permission that we send a request for a Freedom of Information Act for the contingency plan for the bridge and figure out what is being done, what is not being done.
Can I, do you mind if I first try and get it without an ATIP request?
Absolutely, but I would like the current one, not the one from 5 years ago.
Can anyone ask for one of these things, Josh?
Is that?
Can anyone ask for these?
Freedom of
Yep.
information?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be me.
Oh, okay.
And certainly the municipality has the ability to ask.
And just to speak to that specific point, it was our understanding, because Trish and I, you know, we championed this cause last year and spent a lot of time on it.
Yep.
When we attended a meeting with the Eastern Chamber of Commerce, who we are members with, our understanding walking away from the meeting
And
is
the
that they,
PC group.
and the PC
Service.
federal, yeah, that it was the Eastern Chamber of Commerce were supposed to be doing just that last summer.
And we've yet to see a copy, but they said they're going to share with us.
Yeah,
I'll
so,
check with them as
so
well.
perhaps if you could reach out to them to see if they do have a copy of it already.
Yep,
E-tips take a long time.
you do.
Yeah.
That's why I want to try and do it without ATIP first.
And I don't think it would hurt to have it brought to the attention of our local MLA and to the provincial government that we would like to see a copy of that updated plan, because we're very concerned that it either does not exist or it's inadequate.
Well, I think we should be CCing that to the Premier, to our MLA, everybody possible, like we did
That
last
would-
year.
That would happen.
Yeah.
Maybe Lawrence can get it for us.
Amazing.
I got a cell phone number.
CC Lawrence.
Okay. So I guess, you know, it's a federal issue, but it's affecting our community. It's affecting the whole eastern end of this island, you know, from trucks coming over, gravel trucks for driveways, to feed trucks getting to Cardigan. Like, there is so much stuff that this is affecting. And it's not just about tourism, it's about everything. And, you know, a lot of people think ferry is just, oh, I'm just going to go over across the mainland, and it's really not. And it'd be lovely if we actually had a breakdown of how much it affects our daily life here on the island, especially eastern end. Unfortunately, as much as I wish we could wave our magic wand and we can have that ferry in the water tomorrow, we are the municipality, this is a federal issue. But we can certainly scream, shout, ask for questions, and try and keep the light here on the fact that there's an issue. And it's kind of like the squeak wheel gets heard, and I think that's what we need to be doing is, hey, ferry issue's still happening, hey, ferry issue's still happening, hey, where's the ferry? And hopefully maybe they want us to be quiet and they actually help.
We could do what we did last year as well, where we mailed off letters to quite a number. There was a list of them.
Yeah.
So we could do that again.
One letter addressed to one person seeing, because sometimes, I don't know how government works, but I know myself, when I receive an email and I'm copied on, I don't necessarily feel the need to respond. So I wonder if we might send them individually to each one
That's what
rather
was
than,
done.
okay, because it looked
We
like
actually
the
sent,
one that I got, it looked like they
yeah,
just
that was a
CC'd.
sample.
Okay.
We actually sent in originals to each.
Perfect, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we should actually invite Lawrence McCauley to come here to a meeting and to explain to us what is exactly why the ferry has been installed for so long. And he would certainly be a part of this contingency
Great
plan.
if he actually answers.
We tried last summer, and were met with crickets from him. Well, not necessarily crickets from his office, but his office just said, we'll get back to you. And
They never
the
got back to
meeting
you.
never.
So I guess it's time
I
to
hope
say,
you're taking
okay,
notes
when
on
can we
that,
expect
Josh.
a reply?
Yeah.
Right, like, okay, you're gonna get back to us, can we have a time? You're gonna get back to us in a week, or we'll call you back in a week?
Well, we've been waiting for a year for them to get back to us.
Yeah, so letters
We're probably talking
are
about
good,
years, not
but
days.
let's give them an opportunity to be aware that we're just not gonna be sitting ducks, we're gonna
And
follow up
waiting
on
15
this.
years now for the new ferry, it's supposed to
Yeah.
be on architecture's desk now.
I would also like to ask that RMB on their website or Facebook page constantly posts emails of transportation, of Lawrence, because I have had a couple of people that have asked me, like, how do we find your email to send a letter? And I think, you know, if it's easier for us to post the emails and they choose to write their own emails championing help for here, then it might make it easier for them to find the emails. So, community, right away.
Shop Belfast PEI update.
Okay, this is a
Was
happy,
there a motion there or something?
No, we don't need a motion.
You wanna take a breath first?
now I'm on to something happy now.
Okay.
So, we are wrapping up the Shop Belfast campaign. This was started ironically last year,
Because the ferry.
in response to the ferry not being down and trying to get support for local businesses in the area. Unfortunately, tourism has been down on the island and substantially down outside the common areas such as Charlottetown, Cavendish, the main tourist stuff. And so the campaign wasn't used as much as it was last year, but it was still used. And I guess also I'm kind of circling back to the ferry as well. There are businesses in the area, two businesses that are right down at the ferry that are being heavily affected by the ferry traffic is Trina's Takeout. And in the ferry terminal, there is the Wood Islands Cafe Express. To get to that one, you take the service road behind the ferry terminal and park. And so it would certainly be helpful for our community to remember that even though they're not taking the ferry, the businesses are there and they certainly would love the community support to be able to go down there. So, I have in here, I have a whole box full of cards with phone numbers that people have gone. They had to go and get 5 stamps on each card. And Billy, seeing as you're sitting next to me, would you like to do that honor? Dig deep. Let's hope I can pronounce the name. That's always my fear. Oh, Karen Maxu. Sorry, Karen. Macus. So, very happy that Karen is actually in our community. I will be giving her a call later. Karen is a tremendous champion of small businesses in our area. And Karen, congratulations. You have won a $500 Visa gift card. So I'll be reaching out. Okay, next.
Lynn is next on deck.
Do you
with,
want to go
Sulphur.
ahead with the Selkirk Road?
Well, do you want to do your update and then I'll circle up? Do you have much?
I don't really have much of an update, yeah,
Okay.
just from the last time, yeah. So
All right.
you can go ahead first.
I'm
if
going
you'd like.
to.
We need a motion?
Yeah. And motion to go first.
I'm going to talk again. So the Selkirk Road update, Lynn has been doing a fantastic job reaching out and getting transportation, doing data surveys and everything. I, from small business in the area, decided to, I was talking to somebody that then had a lovely conversation with Honorable Corey Nagel, who is Minister of Tourism, and was suggested to write an email. So I did write an email. And I'm looking at from, tourism point of view as, so it's kind of a multifaceted approach, Lynn's approach, and kind of coming at it from a different way that tourism, when you come off the ferry and you plug into your phone and you want to go to Charlottetown and thinking a tourist, I'm guilty of it when I go to a new location that I just plug in where I'm going to go and I don't even read the signs, I just listen to what my phone tells me. Unfortunately, the phone is telling people to take Selkirk Road, which is 6 minutes faster than taking the Trans-Canada, which is built for it. And these people are coming to Island, and what a wonderful road to take for the first time coming to the island. Welcome to the island. You're going to go on a bumpy road that has, you know, farmland and trees versus a scenic highway. And so trying to look at it from a tourism approach. It's also, unfortunately, there has been car accidents that have also affected tourists that are coming to the island, as well as locals in car accidents on that road. And so it's not a safe highway. And so I did send a letter to Honorable Daigle to ask for help and support to potentially look at that from a tourism point of view of how to draw the tourists back onto Trans-Canada and off of Selkirk. So I'm waiting to hear that. I would appreciate the support from the council to send an email from the council as well, and try and kind of add more trees to that squeaky wheel. So I'm asking if everyone has support to send a letter.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
I guess that's a yes.
Do you need a motion?
I know. However, it would be very helpful for me if you had some draft wording that I could start from.
100%.
Okay.
Live stream update strategy, update this administration, Ashley.
Okay, so the last meeting, we sort of touched on live stream and whether or not council wanted me to live stream special meetings and whatnot. So yeah, that was just added to the agenda at the last minute there.
Yeah, the reason it was added is because previously council had said that we're only going to live stream regular council meetings and or special council meetings, and not the committee meetings. And then we get this information that there's going to be, the whole town's going to come out for an annexation meeting. And there was a huge request for live streaming that meeting. It turned out that may or may not have been helpful. And the thought was that we stick to our plan where it's only regular council meetings or special council meetings that we live stream. Not only is it an issue of streaming meetings that don't actually have any decisions made, but it's also a matter of resources, human resources, because it almost has Ashley coming in as a volunteer if we were going to do something that's not regular council. For regular council, that's what she's hired for, but for committee, she's not. So my recommendation is that we stick to our guns and stick with the regular council meetings and special council meetings of the live streaming. For your information, the public meeting that is happening on Saturday is a special council meeting, and that will be live streamed.
I agree.
Yep, I agree.
Agreed.
Okay, current media practice, CAO Bob.
Yes, so over the course of the last month, there's been a lot of questions about, well, who's supposed to speak when it comes to the media and or regular business of council. So we actually have a long-standing practice that was established, well, back in 2019. And so I thought I'd reiterate what that media practice is that we have. So for council issues, the mayor or his or her designate is the chief spokesperson for council positions and issues. The deputy mayor or his or her designate is the alternate spokesperson for council in the mayor's absence. Designates, usually in addition to the mayor or deputy mayor, can be any other selected that's the key word, selected counselor or CAO or other member of RMB administration working in conjunction or with the knowledge of the mayor or deputy mayor. Committee of council, the chair or his or her designate is the chief spokesperson for committee activities and recommendations to council. Designates, usually in addition to the chair of the committee, can be any other selected committee member or CAO or other member of RMB administration working with the committee, working in conjunction or with the knowledge of the chair or of the committee. CAO and administration. The CAO administration will often respond to the media, government officials, and or public inquiries on administration or processes or stated council committee positions. That was stated council committee positions. The CAO administration will let the mayor, deputy mayor, chair, and members of council know about the contact as required. I can tell you that we get lots of emails and whatnot from government or clarifications, even from the media, about what was said at the council, what time is the meeting, what's on the agenda, that sort of stuff like that. That's the kind of thing that the CAO and administration answer on a regular basis. But we also work with committee and council as requested and or as required. Does anybody have a question about our current practice that's been in place since January 1st of 2019?
So, going back to last year, where I spoke a lot, I think Catherine and I spoke a lot with
Yep.
regards to Shop Belfast and the ferry.
Yep.
So we've already been asked to speak to a contact that we trust, but we can't. So in future, like, can we reach out to you and the mayor and say, hey, can we have permission to talk to this person? Or
Okay,
no?
so I should have actually clarified. Any counselor is allowed to speak their personal counselor opinion to anybody they want.
Okay.
They do not have the authority to speak on a council position or a committee position. They can only have their own opinion as a counselor, and they can say whatever they want to whomever they want, just like they would go out door to door saying whatever. The only time that it requires something is if you want to say, council says this.
Okay.
And council has decided they're gonna do this. Well, that's up to the council spokesperson, or the committee is doing this.
Okay.
And if they're not on the committee, they'll need approval for that to happen. So
Okay.
if you're gonna have your own opinion as a person or as a counselor, fill your boots. But if you're going to speak about a council position or a committee position of council, then
Okay.
you would.
This Shop Belfast is not considered a committee.
I'm just using it as an example of, because we talked about ferry last year as well, Shop Belfast.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for the
Is that good?
clarification. It does.
Anything else?
I think, can we just, I'm trying to gather my thoughts around that. It was my understanding, and I believe, I'm not gonna put words into other people's mouths, but I believe others on council's understanding that we were in a media freeze following the annexation meeting, and perhaps that was a misunderstanding, but when I have reporters calling me and I'm telling them, no, I'm not allowed to talk to you, and then I have an article released with an interview from someone on council, it really dampens my relationship with those journalists. So it
It's
just.
actually because of various interactions that, that's why it was put on the agenda. Because there was no motion of council to do a media freeze. It was suggested that we try and use the official spokespeople, which is why I decided to list it so that not only the public would know what our media practice and the media would know what our media practice is, but also council would be reminded of what our media practice is. So unless there's actually a motion that goes contrary to this media practice, for example, if there's a motion that goes on the floor that no one except for, or actually no one will speak about this issue, I can't see how you can have a motion like that, but if you want a motion that would go contrary to this particular media practice that we've had in place since January of 2019, then you would have a motion and we could deal with it with a council discussion and vote.
So I guess it wasn't a media, or it wasn't a motion, but I think it was a common courtesy that myself and Tricia extended, given that there were emails that said, do not comment, do not talk, no one is to talk. So I think there was some confusion there, and you know, I haven't talked to the reporter who I said one thing one day and then had someone speaking to another news agency the next day, but can you see how it...
Yeah.
And I felt the same way with Catherine, because I had to say to a reporter that I trusted to say, I can't talk as a counselor, but I can talk as a business owner.
And when I heard of that, that's why it was put on the agenda.
Okay.
And I wanted to make sure it was clarified.
Awesome.
And that's why I clarified with you what it was. And
I just want to make sure it doesn't happen again, because you know, one strike, but two strikes, you know, maybe then the next time you have an issue you need to talk to, the journalist will talk to you.
so that's why I
Please
put
talk
it
to
on
us.
there. I specifically put it on here for Josh's benefit.
It's been getting rowdy lately.
Yeah. But yes, that was because of that chatter, that's why we put it on the agenda.
New business for the agenda as discussed and approved on item 3, community pantry update.
I don't really have a formal update. Just, you know, thank you to everyone who continues to donate and support. And if you can, please give. The need's not going away.
There's one update, I can thank the Bell River Women's Institute providing not only some donations, but some cash as well.
Okay, the coalition?
No, the Imagination Station Child Care. So I had a resident reach out to me last night. They are in the process of putting together a proposal and working with the Belfast Rec Center to get an after-school program up and running. So this would benefit both the Belfast Consolidated and Belfast residents or children who attend Mountain View Consolidated as well. So they do have a questionnaire that they've shared with me, and I've tried, I don't know if it's live yet, but I've tried to share it on the Belfast community group on Facebook. They've asked if we could share it as well on our social media platforms. They're basically just doing media, or market research, just to see, get a gauge of how much need is out there. So I'll read exactly what they said. So, a community member is in the planning stages of an after-school program servicing Belfast Consolidated and Belfast residents at Montague Consolidated. They have asked that we share a questionnaire for their market research. This program will give the community's children a fun and safe environment to spend their after-school hours, as well as provide up to 2 new permanent jobs and potentially 2 seasonal jobs. The questionnaire also includes an option to add your children to the program's waitlist. And they just said any further questions, they do have a specific email that I hope we'll be able to share for them.
Done?
Thank you. If you want to send that information to Ashley, and then we can put it on our RMB website, if that's okay with council?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very promising.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good.
We've talked about it before, so it's
Where's it
really
gonna be
good.
held?
The Hope is the Belfast Rec Center.
Okay.
They're waiting for board approval right now. And, you know, it will be based off their market research as well, how many kids potentially need it.
Okay, Trish, fire department update.
Fire department update. So we are recruiting at the moment, so we're looking and for new members to come out. So if you are interested, we do have our training night is this Monday, and just show up. 7 o'clock is when we start. And if you can't make it but you are interested, just please message the fire department, and happy to answer any of your questions. But we certainly could use some extra help, and welcome everybody that would be interested. So that's the first part. The second part is very proud of the Belfast Fire Department. We partook, 6 members partook in the September 11th Memorial Stair Climb at the Eastlink Center. And so counting going up the stairs and going down the stairs, all totaled, we did just shy of 18,000 steps. None of us could walk for several days afterwards, but it was wonderful. It was great to have Belfast represented there, and just wanted to share that. That's an update.
Well done.
Good job.
So back to Catherine.
Sorry,
Catherine?
hold on,
Oh, sorry.
Robert.
Just a question, Trish, I often wondered this, does the fire department have an inventory of available water, portable water sources in the community?
Yes, we do.
You do?
Yeah.
Thinking of the farms, because every farm in the area has a huge amount of water sitting in it. And if you have an inventory, that's all we need to know.
I will make sure that it's up to date, but we do have, in each location, we do have spots that we can not, like, we don't necessarily have to go drop a line in pond or anything, so we do have designated spots that we can get water from. But I will ask about, like, farm water inventory.
Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, I just can't think of them all now, 5 large farms in the area, and I know each had portable 2,000-3,000 gallons of water in their trucks all the time. So just in case of emergency, I just, you know. it'd be
Excellent.
Interesting to know what
Plus they have the big holding tanks in the yard. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
In there, that's, yeah, looking up the tanks that are sitting in the water. I know people that bought our farm, there's 3,000 gallons in the warehouse, there's 2,000 gallons sitting on a mobile truck in the summertime.
Okay,
So that's, you know,
That's
I
really good
often
to
have a
know.
case of emergency. You know, ask them, would they be willing to supply contact?
yeah,
First,
contact, and then we can get it, because even if it's just dumped in the porta tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, I'm going to follow that up.
Now,
Catherine, Coalition for Women.
Catherine's Coalition for Women.
So I was invited to a private meeting with the director of the Coalition for Women in Government. This is kind of following all of the annexation kerfuffle. So she, well, I guess backtracking that. So there were some instances following that meeting that got a little personal and a little scary, which did result with me having to file an RCMP report. So the meeting was kind of pertaining that experience. She advised that this was no longer uncommon on PEI. It was actually the 5th experience with a woman counselor within a year, which, you know, it's only September. So she had some recommendations that actually she's sharing with all municipalities, but just some advice moving forward if anything like that happens to both a man or woman counselor. So she shared the technology facilitated violence policy that the coalition themselves have. But the biggest takeaway is that any harassment that we face, we have to be documenting, because ultimately that's what the RCMP uses to open a report or start a file. She did recommend that there be, a staff member on council who would take care of that. I've had those conversations with Ashley, and I think at this point we feel that it's probably not necessary to have, an added responsibility of that. And hopefully now that the annexation process has officially halted, it won't be an issue moving forward. But just something for everyone to keep aware of. If there is anything, both phone calls, emails, social media, just to keep a log of it, a record of it, pass it on to, I'd recommend to pass it on both to the office and, have those discussions if it gets out of control.
Public meeting, there's not a problem because we have it documented, we do the live streaming or whatever. However, private emails and or phone calls that are sent, yes, if there's something you want to bring to the attention of administration, then we could follow up with the RCMP as well if it's a criminal matter.
And also, just on that note, the coalition did receive funding from the province to go forward with new information sessions, I guess they were, like they had all last summer. So those meetings themselves are specifically for women in government, but the information they're providing is just generalized for everyone. So if we don't attend ourselves, we should get copies of that information so we can all have it available to us.
And I think, I'm speaking on my behalf and my experience. We all are volunteers, and I work in a public area with my business and the post office, and I have, after I had someone come in. I don't know who they are. I did not get a license plate because I was quite shocked at the heated and anger that was at me. And I think our community needs to remember that we are human as well, and we are volunteering, and hate and poor treatment of others is not okay, and it shouldn't be tolerated.
And if it's a social media thing, you guys can screenshot and just send it to me and I'll put it in a file.
Yeah.
Just like that. Boom. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Next meeting is a public meeting of RMB's official plan and development bylaws discussions, September the 21st, 2024, from 1 until 3 p.m. here in this room. Regular council meeting, October the 16th, 2024 at 7 in Wood Islands Market, upstairs meeting hall. And number 18 is a rural development officer opinion on the FOTAN official plan and development bylaw draft documents.
So, because of the length of the meeting already, I thought what I'd do is I would introduce John and to the Facebook folks about what this next issue is going to be, but then request that there be a slight pause for the cause, and then we'll be back in 5 or 10 minutes after, so that they'll know what they're going to be coming back for. So,
We'll pause for a small commercial break.
yeah, but let me introduce what this is going to be about first, okay? So the item, as Garth mentioned, is the Rural Development Officer opinion on the FOTAN official plan and development bylaw draft documents. In October 2022, RMB's Contractors FOTAN Planning Inc. completed a second draft of the RMB official plan and development bylaw based on the public and council discussions, input, and suggestions. These draft documents were posted to the RMB website for further public review and supplied to council for additional review. Additionally, RMB contracted a rural development officer currently working in Eastern Kings, it's another rural PEI area, to review the FOTAN drafts with a rural lens. We wanted to make sure that whatever documents that we were looking at represented rural values, so the questions posed to the contractor, Mr. John Ployer, was, do the draft documents reflect a typical rural municipality for PEI? Do the draft documents comply with all the relevant PEI legislation? Do you have any recommendations for council to consider in regards to these two draft documents? So Mr. John Ployer is a development officer, and he's with Eastern Kings, and he has finished his work and is now prepared to present his findings to council for consideration, and at this point it's more for information. John will also be attending the Saturday session, so that FOTAN, who's going to be in attendance, it's also going to be live streamed on Facebook, and council will be there as well. We'll basically give a review of what he's presenting tonight, so that the public will also know that we were looking for an opinion about the documents with a rural lens in mind. So once everybody takes a quick break, we'll come back and have John present his findings. Now, everybody was supplied a copy of the document. The public was supplied copies of the document. It's posted on the website. But also for the public here, and council's got full copies. So I had asked John not to go through every word of the document that the findings were, but I had asked him to go with each topic, supply the comment only and the recommendation. Otherwise, we'd be here till 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, right. So in an effort to be a little more brief, especially since he's going to be presenting a somewhat shortened version on Saturday as well, we'll have John present his findings. Catherine, you had a question first?
Sorry, did you say that FOTAN were attending on Saturday?
Yes.
Virtually.
Yeah. So they'll be attending virtually. I'll be the moderator for the meeting. FOTAN will be providing some comments before we look for public comment from people. And John will also be letting people know about his findings that are going to be viewing the meeting. After that, we're going to take the information that John's providing us tonight, that we're going to hear on Saturday, and in the October meeting, we will have something laid out as to where do we go from there and options for council to consider. Is everybody clear before we go for a break? Okay, so let's give everybody 5 minutes.